Hey, welcome back. Back-to-back shows tonight on the Comic Art Live channel. So, the first show was fun with Joe, of course, doing the Heritage preview. But now we've got a very great interview with somebody I've known for a while, James Henry. He's got an amazing collection. There's many of you that are going to wish you could buy the artwork that you're going to get to see tonight, or claim it in one way or another. But so I even wore my X-Men shirt tonight just to kind of be in the mood for tonight's show, because we're going to see a lot of X-Men related pieces, and just pieces that are just absolutely fantastic, belong in a museum one day without question. So I don't want to keep James in the green room too long, so let me bring James into the studio, and you can all meet him. Hey James, how are you?
Hey, Bill, great to see you.
Likewise, I'm glad you had time tonight. I know that it's funny, uh, Joe Manarino, he's in the middle of a move. I'm in the middle of a move, and you're in the middle of a move. So
Yeah,
it's tis the season, I think for some of us.
yeah. It's like the post-COVID world. Everyone's going somewhere.
Right, right. Did you have a far move? I mean, or were you close by?
It was like 3 miles
Oh
due
my God.
south. Yeah,
So you
still
could
in
just pack.
Westport, Connecticut, just a different spot.
Okay. Well, and, as I was telling you earlier, that's a beautiful room. I'm envious. I mean, I'm happy in this room here, but I look at that room. At first, when you got on camera, when we tested everything out the other day, you know how a lot of times people can use like fake backgrounds. At first, I thought it was a fake room, and then I saw the trees wiggle like 10 minutes into the chat, and I'm like, all right, it's not fake, it's real, because it's just too nice.
All right. Well, you're envious of my room. I'm envious of your toys there. You've got the Magneto helmet, the Hulk mask, the
Yeah,
Starro mask. That was a SDCC
it
exclusive
was.
year. I have that somewhere in the basement.
All right, you have one. I've got, because I got two. I managed to score a couple at that San Diego somehow.
Yeah, it's
But
a lot of goodness on your shelves there.
yeah, no, it is. We've some of the stuff is just props from different things we've done over the last couple of years, but a lot of it's just eBay buys, things like that. I mean, I bought that gumball machine. It's got Marvel necklaces, so it's got like a saber tooth necklace, and then I can't even remember all the weird stuff it had in there, like Spider-Man rings and things like that. I bought that on eBay, like even before I started collecting art. I think when I got started, I stopped collecting comics right in the middle of college, so around 1990, and I got back into collecting comics around 96. And so it was that period before, and I started collecting art around 99. So somewhere between 96 and 99, I decided I just wanted to buy as many, funny Marvel related things as I could. And I've got a really nice Wolverine display that's not, it used to be in my other office. I haven't hung it up here, where it's a light up display from a comic shop, just fun stuff like that. But the gumball machine was one of my pickups during that time too.
Awesome.
I need a spinner rack though. I think that should be high on my list. Do you have one of those?
I do not. No, probably hard to find these days.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're going to pay a decent money for an original. I mean, there's repros out there, I think, but I wouldn't want one. So Dino says he's lived in Westport for 18 years, so he might be a nearby neighbor.
Very nice.
So James, maybe you don't know, but we usually start these off just kind of with the my guests giving an origin story about how you got involved in comics first, comic art second, and then I know you have some side stories as well about starting your own, being involved in a few business ventures as well. So kind of start us from the beginning. How did you get involved in comics, and your love for Marvel and whatever else you want to tell us about.
Well, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I had exposure to comics, growing up, but it was really, when I was age, 11 or 12, and I discovered the X-Men and the New Mutants with the 1-2 punch of Uncanny X-Men 167. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, that iconic New Mutants, sitting in Xavier's mansion watching TV, the X-Men burst in, mayhem ensues. Like, I was like, wow, totally hooked. Loved, the Paul Smith art, Chris Claremont story script, and I was hooked. And so, probably been buying comics actively, aggressively ever since. But that, that's my personal golden age of comics, that kind of 82, 84, that crucible, from the Wolverine limited series through, the Paul Smith Uncanny X-Men through,
Hmm.
everything that followed. So it has left an indelible impression on me, and definitely informed a lot of my collecting interests over time. And from there, it kind of went, both backward to the Byrne, the iconic Byrne Cockrum stories, and obviously forward for now, however long it's been, 30, 35, 40, approaching 40 years. It's frightening.
Right.
So, so that was really, that's when I started reading comics. I think collecting was kind of a natural outgrowth because, unlike magazines, you don't throw them away. And amassed a large collection over time. So it's been a hobby, a pastime, a passion, to varying degrees over now 30 plus years and counting.
So how did you come across your first piece of original comic art?
Yeah, so that's I was, in preparation to this, I was casting my memory back to put it all back together. So, and I was remembering, so like after college, moved to New York City, started working, and I would still go to the comic book store like every Wednesday without fail. I would go to Jim Hanley's Universe in Midtown Manhattan while it was still around. And I would buy comics, and like looking back, I don't think I read them. I think I just had this like compulsive, need to go, keep going and keep buying, my favorite titles. And of course, at that time, there was all the new titles, Image and others coming out. And it really wasn't until like probably 2000, 2001 that I was able to like take stock of my collection and my interest in the hobby. And which was around the time I discovered eBay, the miracle of eBay. I look back, I just celebrated my 31st anniversary on eBay, they told me. And so I went back on eBay, started filling in, gaps in my collection. And I had this like longstanding dream, like have X-Men 1 through current, which I was able to do thanks to eBay. And as I was, getting, more deeply immersed in the hobby, I was like, well, what else is there? There's trade paperbacks, collected editions, and there's original art, right? I didn't even know it existed. I never even thought about it. And, I probably bought my first piece. It's probably 2001, 2002. And I was just like amazed by it. It's like this piece of paper, touched by the creators, the penciler, the inker, someone pasted speech bubbles on, this like incredibly like physical, tangible, piece of work that had so many hands involved in it. That was like literally, the first of its kind, the only one of its kind. And it really appealed to me as a way to get deeper into the hobby and closer to the creators that I'd grown to love over time.
Do you remember what that first page was?
I was trying to put it together. So it wasn't eBay, despite my comment, although I think that's where I found that the category existed. There was a shop in Italy. I think it was Red Sector Art.
Yeah, that was Enrico Salvini. Yeah, he ran
okay.
that.
And I found this website, and I bought like I think it was like an Invaders page, maybe like the original Invaders.
Mhm.
And then I think a Mark Bagley Spider-Man page, and like at like looking back, like I don't know why those pages.
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere, but yeah, I still have them and have fond memories of them. But that was like the gateway drug to a much more serious addiction over time.
Yeah, I bought a few pages from Red Sector, and I commissioned an artist through there early on. So yeah, they were. He's moved on to other things, but he still helps out. He's good friends with Morger, and when Steve Morger sets up for the Late Como show, Enrico handles a lot of the like logistics and ground stuff for him, and
Nice.
I think he does some of the PR too. So he's still involved in the comic arts. But yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one who got their first art from Enrico.
Yeah, look, 2001, 20 years ago and counting, like it was still early days on the web, e-commerce. It was certainly for me early days in the hobby. I look back at advertisements and comics, a decade or two ago, and realized, oh, that people were selling these through fanzines and trade publications and other things, and wow, those prices are so low. I wish for a time machine pretty regularly.
Right. Yeah, we all do.
Yeah,
That's for sure. I mean, just looking at the heritage preview we did earlier, it's the same kind of feeling. You look at stuff and you're just like, no, that's out of my league anymore.
yeah.
But
You look on the back of a page and it's like $50. You're like, oh.
right. I know that is the worst part, is when
Yeah.
the penciled price is still on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's but again, it's all part of history. There were some dealers who stamped the backs of them and did other, so it's
Yeah.
you just never know what you're going to get. But it's back to, it's a one of a kind. So whatever's happened to it since it got out in the market, it is what it is. I mean, but it's kind of why we enjoy this hobby so much. So you bought your first art in the early 2000s, and then so how did that transition to what you did in Columbus?
So yeah, there's a few years between here and there, but definitely got more and more into the hobby, more and more
Yeah.
into original art. I think in the intervening time, I had discovered that John Byrne was taking commissions through Jim Warden, which was like amazing, just to think that like this incredibly iconic creator, who at that point had become probably my favorite of all time. You could actually like have him draw something for you. It's like, and that was, so from buying original art to actually discovering that commissions existed was a whole journey in and of itself. So I was really, kind of diving deep. And honestly, I'm not sure what prompted the idea of Mid Ohio Con. I think I read somewhere that Roger Price, who had founded Mid Ohio Con, was looking to retire and interested in selling the business, selling the con. And it just struck me like, wow, this is like Mark Cuban buys the Mavericks, like the Uber sports fan buying a team to be closer to the game. This was like my very like small scale version of that, to be part of the game and to be closer to the creators, learn more about the trade, get to hang out with all these, awesome people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, that was the inspiration, and was able to negotiate a deal to take over Mid Ohio Con. Our inaugural outing was 2008, which was that was an experience. The whole business of like buying a convention and figuring out everything that's involved in putting it on. It's it's a 3-ring circus, and to do that as essentially one person, albeit with support from Roger, a lot of support from the volunteer network that he had built, which was incredible. Certainly would have been possible without them, but man, it was overwhelming.
Right. Did Roger do most of the work kind of on his own too, or did he have partners or anything? Or
Yeah, I mean, Roger, I think largely orchestrated it himself in terms of promotion, recruiting guests, signing up exhibitors for booth space and artist alley. So there was a lot for him to undertake. The volunteers were absolutely vital when it came to the on-site work during the course of the event. Orchestrating everything from setup to tear down to guest relations and all the issues and excitement that happened along the way. It was a lot of fun, and I have incredibly fond memories of it. Just especially that first year, setting up with my brother Bill, who did the whole thing with me, and we're like manning so probably the Friday before the show, we're like manning the guest booth, the guest I guess admissions booth, and creators start showing up, and where I look up and like there's Joe Kubert sitting there in front of me. He's like, "Hi, I'm Joe Kubert." I'm like, I know, yeah. And we had, and I may be mixing time periods a little bit, but we had the privilege of having some really remarkable guests over the span of the 3 years that we did the show. A lot of fun memories.
Yeah, I mean, shows it had to be. I mean, when we worked with Big Wow, I mean, it was so much fun just getting to hang out with the creators, and uh, I mean, that for me was probably the best part, was the socializing, and
Yeah.
just I mean, money was secondary, fortunately, at the end of the day, you know. But it was an experience. Definitely, yeah, I'm sure but you only did it for 3 years. I thought you'd done it for a couple more than that. Like I thought you were in it for like 5, but
Yeah, so it was, well, so 2008, 9, and 10. 2010 was the 30th anniversary of the event. That's when
mhm.
Wizard took over and continued for a period of time. But yeah, those are the 3 years that we were doing it. And look, I mean, the reality was, it was incredibly fun and rewarding from a collecting passion perspective. It was also like incredibly taxing and not profitable from a financial perspective. And I guess in my mind, it's like if I could run this at like break even, it'd be fine. Like I'm just feeding the hobby, but coming out of pocket every year and at large amounts to fly creators in and do everything.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's a way to make money doing it at scale, the way the large shows do. But smaller scale shows, you either make compromises on the size and quality of the guest list, or you change the character of the show, you turn it into a different kind of event where comics are secondary, or whatever it is. Didn't crack the code, but wasn't interested in cracking the code. I was very interested in keeping kind of the purity of the Comic Con and not
Yeah.
diverting into wrestling and media and gaming and all the other things that are of course important to pay the bills.
Right. Well, exhibition space isn't cheap, that's for sure, and
Yeah,
marketing isn't cheap. So
yeah. The Greater Columbus Convention Center, fantastic venue, but they get paid well.
yeah, yeah. No, I know. I mean, Big Wow was the same way, but it was a lot of fun. But I agree. When it was over, I was happy. I
Yeah.
was like, good. I can
Yeah,
move on.
I remember, I think my wife and my wife had staged an intervention with me. It's like, all right, look, you're doing this. It takes all this time. You're losing money. Like, why are you doing this? I'm like, I'm having so much fun. She's like, well, what's the most fun part? I'm like, well, really, the cocktail party on Saturday night, where you get to like, hang out with all the guests and like the fans and like, completely relax and be in the moment. She's like, why don't you just do that?
Right.
That was like a moment of clarity. Where I'm like, all right, this is too hard.
Yeah.
There could be a better way.
No, I agree. I mean, and that's true. I always tell people that the best part of Big Wow was the day after, because Morger had access to Travis Stress winery, and he would throw a barbecue there, and it was that lunch, just relaxing, decompressing after the show, and hanging out with all the artists who were willing to stay for that extra day was
Yeah,
really the most fun. So yeah, so I think your wife was definitely onto something there. It is. It's more fun to be to be on the sidelines, just kind of interacting as you want, versus having to deal with all
yeah,
the responsibilities.
yeah. It's a big responsibility, a lot of work, but I mean, I wouldn't trade those moments for anything. I mean,
Sure.
some of those experiences. I mean, I was remembering with my brother the other day. One of the events I think we went out and we had dinner with David Mack and Bill Sienkiewicz. We had sushi at the place down the street from the Columbus Convention Center. It's like, wow, that's just amazing experience. And like these are experiences I would never have had ever.
Hmm.
No matter how enthusiastic a collector I am, probably would never have those experiences without having put on the con.
Right. Right. No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, did you when you were running the con, did you get to pick up any originals during the show, or not a lot of time to do a lot of shopping while the shows were going on?
No, it's interesting. I was reflecting back on this, and I mean the event itself was all consuming, and then I think the final year, 2010, the 30th anniversary, I did it right. We commissioned this fantastic like variant cover for the program guide
Hmm.
with Chris Giarrusso doing essentially a frame of with his mini Marvel and mini DC and Image heads, kind of along the lines of the Marvel Comics 25th anniversary frame. So we did that as a sketch cover, and then I had almost all the guest artists do sketches that year. So that was great. That was probably most of it. And then most of the original art that kind of came out of those shows, we ended up doing for. Oh, there you go. Yeah, love it. As you'll know, I'm a huge Chris G fan, but that was phenomenal. And didn't quite get all the guests, but definitely the vast majority of them were kind enough to do sketch covers for me that year. Yeah, this Kubert one. Or is that Billy Tucci?
Yeah, it's Tucci on that one.
That's Tucci. Tucci channeling his inner Kubert, but that was very cool. And but a lot of the original art that we asked creators to do during the course of the event, we did for auction. The Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Hero Initiative, and we would do auctions on eBay post the event. So some pretty cool pieces there, which I think are also in one of the galleries on my page. My favorite of all of them was there's a Joe Kubert Sergeant Rock, which is like, and these are huge. These are, I don't remember, it's like 18 by 24 or something like that. Yeah, not sure this does justice, but like this was huge, and that's also, I think that's a black and white scan. He did it in like gray tones, and he was like finishing it up. He didn't like something, and he's like, hold on. He like pours some water on it and like rubs it with his finger, and then like I think that's that like his leg, his right leg there extending down that he had to do like manually. Just amazing. So yeah, some happy collector bought that on eBay, and I keep looking for it. I'd love to have a go at that someday.
Well, I have to imagine that you get to see all that artwork, and then you don't get to own it. So, but I'm sure you've seen pieces come up before that you kind of helped get out into the wild, right? I mean, that's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, it was good for charity and good for the hobby. So all good all around.
Well, I agree. I'm glad glad you kept it on CAF. It's a nice image by Joe.
Yeah, and I think coming out of that, like I've had an affinity for, a passion for like large pieces. I mean, 11 by 17 is obviously nice and standard, but these I scroll up to the top. I think it has the typical dimensions. Oh wait,
19 by 24.
19 by 24. So those are pretty big. Ooh, yeah, that Batman by Matt Wagner was very cool.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, and so during the course of the show, we would have the creators go up to like the main stage, sit at a chair by an easel, and like do it so people could watch. So that was it's one of the attractions. But definitely,
I only made it to one while you were in charge. I don't even remember. It might have been the 2010 show, maybe. But I think it was the year before. But it was a good show. I mean, it was everything you'd want out of a comics focused event, and the artists were treated really well there. So I think that it was fun. It was definitely a show that I would have been continued going to if you would have kept it up.
Yeah, maybe someday. Don't tell my wife.
Yeah, no, I did a Columbus get together in August. We went to the Billy Ireland Museum, and they had the Marvel exhibit over at COSI. So, but it was, we had about 50 collectors come out. So it was fun kind of doing something at that scale, but I don't think I'd ever want to get involved with something where you need to get 1,000 people through the door. I don't, 100 maybe. That's kind of manageable, and you kind of still get to feel like you can talk to most of the people coming through the door and know them. But it was fun to do it after all the years of, because I think we finished Big Wow around it was probably like 2013. So I hadn't done anything like that in a long time. But again, it's just fun. It's fun being an organizer, right? You kind of have a plan, you execute it, and it actually works. Yeah. Everybody has a good time. I mean, there's no better feeling like that, to bring people together, especially, for something that it's a hobby that you really are, you really love. I mean, and I didn't make a penny. I literally just broke even. It cost, running the hall and everything. But I did break even. I can say that.
That's good. if you break even and you had fun, then it's all good.
Right. And I think I picked up 2 pieces of art while I was there, just from other collectors. But it was a good show for me. Um, so what, we could start looking at some artwork, because I mean there's so much to look at. I mean, I want to talk about these pieces too, but in a weird way, I kind of want to show that. I guess I maybe want to show these a little bit out of order, and show that piece that you said, from the Paul Smith piece, if you don't mind, just because, like you said, this was your gateway into comics, was this particular issue and story, and what a great point, to kind of pick up your first book in an X series, if this was it.
Yeah, and I bought this off the spinner rack at, I think, store 24 in West Newton, Massachusetts, where I grew up, and it's like, wow. I mean, this page. Well, this is not necessarily the most impactful page, because the one that follows is the double page splash,
Right.
with the X-Men bursting through into the living room. But I think one of the things that always resonated with me about the X-Men is that it's a school. There's kids. They're superheroes on one hand. They're teenagers, adolescents on the other, kind of living their life and enjoying the same things that I did at that point. I mean, Magnum PI, which they're watching. Fantastic, cultural reference, circa 1983 or 82, depending on the cover date versus the actual release date. But it was, I think this would have been, I was looking back, March of 83 was the cover date. So that's probably, November, December of 82. Shortly after the New Mutants debuted. So we're like right up at the 40th anniversary of the New Mutants, and definitely resonated with me at that point. I probably just turned 12, and could definitely empathize or identify with these kids and what they were going through. But the fact that they were going through that in this like incredible world of the X-Men was amazing. And this issue, again, it's a great gateway, because it's the New Mutants, right? It's the X-Men, the Starjammers, and the Shi'ar, random cameo appearance with the Fantastic Four that sets up the trial of Galactus, or the trial of Reed Richards, I guess, later.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, and it just, and Paul Smith's art, so different than Cockrum or Byrne before him, but his own way, incredible. Just the simplicity, the cleanliness of the lines, the economy of the art, but with incredible detail, expressive faces. It got me. And I guess looking back, it seemed to have gotten everyone, because this is that period of time is where X-Men sales really took off. So that period, the Paul Smith Uncanny X-Men, Bob McLeod New Mutants, that's kind of the start of my interest in comics at that age, and it was kind of the focal point of a lot of my collecting activity.
Sure.
Early on.
No, I've always wanted a Paul Smith page. It's they've always eluded me, unfortunately, but yeah, his work was just, it was so unique. And it's funny, I mean, whenever I see the way he drew the front of the X Mansion, because he did it in many different ways. Like there were several scenes that happened outside of the building, and it's just so unique the way he drew it. I know I look at it now and I just think, I don't know why, but every time I see this, I'd want to own a page where he just drew the outside of the building. I don't care what the characters are doing outside of it, because there was just something about it, his approach, his line work, and in particular, I guess the stories that were written kind of during his period were just so they were really, I can't even put my word put a word to it, but it was a change of pace from Cockrum stuff, and it just, I loved it. I mean, it fit, the stories suited Paul's style, and the Brood issues were always just I love those. And
oh yeah,
yeah, I mean, See, I'm looking at this now, and I want to go back and read them now when I see this page.
You know, they definitely withstand the test of time. I mean, Claremont's plot and script, and Smith's pencils, Bob Wycheck's inks, just perfect. Yeah, I picked up a few pages from 167 and 168 over time. Like, I keep dreaming someday that double page splash from 167 will show up on an auction site. Although
Yeah.
I fear what it would command at today's prices.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, but that's such a memorable image, though. I mean, I haven't looked at that in 20 years, but I know what it looks like.
Yeah,
Them breaking through the door like that.
Explosive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was. I mean, and I've got a couple trades of all that, so I think that's gonna be my weekend reading. I've got to go back to it. So, but yeah, I think that that period of X-Men was fun. I mean, part of the fun of X-Men was those moments, though. You always think like you always want to have a great battle page, but with the X-Men, it was always those quiet moments that were really important. Pivotal, whether it was Scott and Jean together, or it was a moment, before the going into the danger room or after, or Wolverine being mad, with a beer in his hand or whatever. I mean, those were fun. That's what made the X-Men enjoyable, was those moments between the battles. And that's,
yeah. I mean, say what you will, but I mean, the X-Men is a soap opera, right?
It was.
I mean,
without question.
There's love, there's drama, there's conflict, just in an overarching world with a lot of action. But yeah, I mean, it's the interpersonal dynamics between the characters, whether it's romance or conflict, or sometimes both.
Mm-hmm.
Claremont definitely tapped into a vein there, and it resonated really well. But to me, the stories that center around the school, that center around the personalities of the characters, as opposed to just the far-flung action. Those stories are always my favorite.
Sure. Well, here, why don't we take a look at this other really nice piece of art? We'll go over to that Bill Sienkiewicz piece. I mean, this is like a dream when you see a painted mutants anything by Bill Sienkiewicz, but this one's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I mean, this is the first call it true grail piece that I had, and I guess I think I wrote in the comments section of my gallery, grail probably means different things to different people, but to me, a grail piece is something not just that is objectively beautiful and also valuable, but something that has incredible personal significance. And this New Mutants #21, Slumber Party, just such a favorite of mine, personally growing up. And it's a great story. The energy of this cover is just so powerful. It's just sheer joy. I mean, look at these characters. Aside from being hated and feared by a world they're sworn to protect, or whatever it is, they're having a blast blowing off steam, which of course is a big theme of New Mutants #21. Interacting with kids in the real world. So such a great cover. It's interesting. So this piece is a scan of the actual cover. The printed cover has much darker tones, but I think that the original kind of bluer blue instead of the darker blue, it probably better exemplifies the energy and spirit of the cover. And this is one, I think probably the first example of hot pursuit that I've had in the original art collecting hobby. So Ferran Delgado, had this for years, and it was in his gallery on Comic Art Fans. And although clearly listed NFS, not for sale, and I just I sent him a message one day. I said, hey, I know it's not for sale, but if by some miracle someday you decide to part with it, please reach out to me. And he politely responded and said, probably hell no, never, something like that, but very politely, of course. And I don't recall how long it was. It was, whether a year, 2 years, 3 years later, I get a note from him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm interested in selling." And he was starting a fanzine plot, which he did for a number of years, kind of diving back into this same period of time, and I guess was looking to raise working capital to get that off the ground, and decided to sell this piece. So we negotiated a price, and to be honest, looking back, I was a little anxious. Like, I'd never met Ferran, and it seemed like a lot of money to just like send to someone. So I actually flew to Madrid to meet him in person. I think I sent him like half of whatever amount we agreed to in advance, and then flew to Madrid to actually see the piece in person. Make sure it was real, pick it up, and then pay him the balance in person. So that was like that was a big trip. But met him. Held the piece in my hand. I turned it over. It's a pretty large piece. It's larger artboard as Bill did with a lot of his painted pieces.
Yeah.
And you like flip it over on the back, and it's got like Bill Sienkiewicz and like his phone number, like maybe a takeout order. There's somewhat like randomness on the back. It's like, this is definitely the real deal. And so that was that. But was definitely thrilled. Like that, that piece has real personal significance to me.
Sure. I mean, I the fact that you flew to Madrid after doing the down payment was, I get it. I mean, I would have been a little nervous too, but at least you secured it, put a hold on it so you could get out there. But what did your wife say when you said, "I'm flying to Madrid to get this this piece of comic art"? I hope.
She was remarkably understanding.
Yeah. Well, for a purchase that size and back at that time period, it's collector to collector, that had to have been, I would have had anxiety too, certainly.
Yeah. It was certainly multiples more than I'd ever spent on a piece of comic art, and with someone that I'd never met. So different, and I was also like excited, like I wanted to like lay my hands on it. So it seemed like a grand adventure.
Sure.
And
well, that's so cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you covered it in your preview, because it probably would not have been a big feature. But the double page splash from New Mutants 21 is up in the next Heritage auction.
That wasn't one of the ones that they picked, but I mentioned it. Because we looked at the cover to Marvel Preview with Moon Knight on it, and so we looked at that, and I mentioned that there was a DPS from New Mutants in there as well. That it's with a lot of characters on it. I remember.
Yeah, I got my eye on that one. It's funny. It's like it's one that has personal significance, but there's like maybe two of the New Mutants that are in it, and like Louise Simonson as a teenage character. So I'm hoping that it doesn't get bid to the stratosphere.
Right. Yeah, I only glanced at it because I couldn't remember. I haven't read that issue in a long time, but I just glanced at it as I was trying to pick separate pieces for the preview that Joe hadn't picked. But yeah, no, again, it's the right period. If you want a Sienkiewicz example, that would be a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
So next up is that sketchbook, and we can, why don't you show it, and then we can kind of dive in and look at I guess I have 6 scans from it, but how about tell us the story behind this? And the thing is, I thought was funny was those coffee/water stains that are on the front.
Yeah, this thing has been well used. Says John L. Byrne, artist at large, and I think I actually thought that the house was like the stock image on the Aqua Bee sketch pad, but
it was. Yeah, I actually had one of these.
Yeah. So it's not that's not Byrne, but anyway, huge Byrne fan, as you've gathered. I'm on Anthony Snyder's email list, and one day I look at the new listings or new whatever he does, and it's like, oh John Byrne sketchbook. And so I emailed him. I was like, oh, I'd love it. How much? He's like, sorry, someone beat you to it. It's on hold. And I'm like, completely deflated. And so like the next day I email like, hey, has the guy who hadn't hold paid yet? Like, I'll pay today. I'll drive to New Jersey to like pick it up from you. I'll bring cash. It's like, he's like, no, this is a regular customer. It's all good. And I just kept hounding him. I mean, he was probably annoyed. I'm sure he was annoyed. But finally he's like, okay, he hasn't come through with payment yet, and actually hasn't emailed me in a few days. So come on over. So like I drove to his place in New Jersey, picked it up, and I don't know, like I've seen over time a lot of individual pages from these sketchbooks. I'd never actually seen a complete or whole sketchbook before, and so I just I'm like personally fascinated by these because it's not these were not, I think, intended by the artist typically as something that other people would see or that would be out there in the world necessarily. It's like personal notes and sketches, calculations. There's like random math that I've been trying to decipher. All kinds of cool stuff in it. And I sent you a few images. I should really photograph this and actually put it up on my CAF gallery at some point. But aside from the art, there's a full page by page outline for Iron Fist number 10, a pretty full outline for Marvel Team Up 53, and also Champions 10. So this is like timestamp 1976, because those are all comics that came out, at least cover date December 76, January 77. So it's kind of an interesting moment in Byrne where, kind of pre X-Men, where he's still, cranking it out on Champions and Marvel Team Up, Iron Fist, kind of getting to the point of his true, escape velocity.
Right.
So it's just, it's fun to flip through. But I mean, I sent you some of the better, more clear cut images, but like just flipping through here, it's like, what else? I sent you the Black Widow. There's like a cool Batman. Batman
full
cowl.
screen you at.
What's that?
I said a full screen so you can show off some.
There we go. Let's see what do we got there. More Batman and some random tech. This is nice. So you get sorry, I guess I'm reversed here. Ben Grimm, Iron Fist. Oh yeah, that's Black Widow's form there below. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, he was throwing a lot of Black Widow in here. Joker.
Huh.
Yeah, his Joker, which by the way, this would be like what appeared in the what was his Elseworlds piece.
What's that? What he's doing now, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
The Generations.
Generation.
Yeah. All right. So look at the beautiful Black Widow. Didn't photograph well, but all right. Sorry.
All pencil.
Yeah, all pencil.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
What year did you pick this up?
I don't actually remember. It was like 10 years ago, so give or take. And then there's one gem. So he had and a lot of these, it's like really faint pencil, so it doesn't scan or reproduce well. But it's good to the eye. I gotta find this. He has I don't know, and I was trying to figure out if this character actually ever appeared. So it's Simon Dorr, the Night Stalker. Simon Quincy Dior, 5th Earl of Havencourt, born 1232 AD. Incubus, inheritor of family curse dating from 7th century, soldier of fortune, poet, concert pianist. He must drain the life force from one human body every 3 days. Sounds like a good story.
Yeah.
Not content to live the shadow half-life of Vlad Dracul, who he met in the 1600s, Dorr has in recent years adopted the guise of a superhero, in quotes, preying only on those deserving of death. Although his actual age exceeds 700 years, this practice keeps him approximately 25.
Well, there you go. Byrne wanting to, being the writer side, right? The creative
Yeah,
side, not wanting to just kind of take a back seat. He
yeah.
wanted to drive. So that's cool. That is really nice.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you. I mean, some of the well, he obviously had a more powerful role than just art. But looking
Hmm.
at the some of the layouts he's done, it's very clear. It's plot and art. We're going hand in hand as the Marvel method.
Right.
Some of his collaborators were just providing script.
Hmm.
Uh, but good stuff. Anyway, this is fun. It's
Well,
kind of
that's nice.
a
And
nice artifact.
like they mentioned, a good time capsule for
Yeah,
John's period there.
definitely.
So congratulations on that, and tough luck for the gentleman or gal who couldn't purchase it and pay for it on time.
I don't feel bad for them.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, we were talking about Cockrum in the Heritage preview earlier. So here's a page from Giant Size X-Men, which is, I mean, this is a great page. And again, it's back to all those things that make the X-Men fun, right? The disagreements and conflict, and you get everybody in the jet, which is like, if you if it's not the danger room or hanging out somewhere in the mansion, you want them in the jet, for a nice
Yep.
hanging out and chat and shot. So that's that fourth panel is great.
Yeah, yeah. And this showed up in a heritage auction years back, and I just remember at the time thinking like, oh my god, I can't believe that this is actually here. I mean, this to me is, I mean, Giant Size #1 is probably one of the most iconic, influential pieces of comic art ever. Introducing the team and setting the stage for what's been an incredible run. And I just, at the time was like, this seems like something I should overpay for. Uh, and it was, I think it was an eye-popping price at the time. I guess looking back, it seems like good value for money, given where prevailing prices are today. And this piece, while it didn't have the same, call it personal significance as Uncanny 167 or New Mutants #2 or some of those pieces, it does have a similar timestamp to me, because I first encountered this story, the Giant Size #1 story, in X-Men Special Edition #1, which came out February of '83. So this was around the same time where they published the double page wraparound cover with that Cockrum did, brand new.
Yep.
New splash page art, or I guess frontispiece art. The bonus story with Kitty and Ileana in the mansion, leading up to her surprise birthday party. So this was definitely like, in my head as like, kind of time stamped in that period, even though it came years before, when I was only, how old was I when this came out? It was like 4 years old, something like that. So it's proof positive that the reprints have benefit to future fans, incubating new legions of fans, even years after the original publishing date. So yeah, this is a cool piece. And one thing, I pulled out the piece for this occasion. One thing that I guess any Cockrum collectors probably found over time is that he was very good at drawing things on the back to the pleasure of fans. So this one happens to have a.
Oh, that's right. I remember when you hold it up. Yeah, I mean, people can check it out in your CAF gallery too, because I think you show the back image on that as well.
Yeah.
But
so
yep,
that was an added bonus of Storm.
no, that's a great page, and that I liked. That's when they still drew Nightcrawler like a real demon. He kind of has that feel. Whereas maybe once Paul Smith drew him, he was a nice swashbuckling. Well, Cockrum drew him that way too. But I really enjoyed him as looking like a real kind of Nightcrawler demon.
Character. Well, I mean, it's and I think Wolverine would call him misfit back at the time. And now he's like debonair Errol Flynn looking.
Right. Exactly.
Blue velvet, skinned fellow, but also fine. I mean, it's, the artistic interpretation has changed a lot.
Sure.
From artist to artist over time, but getting refined. Yeah, it's funny. I remember John Byrne talking about Kitty Pryde, and he's like, I always thought of Kitty Pryde as a young Sigourney Weaver, and Paul Smith drew her as a young Brooke Shields. So different interpretations, but
Sure.
both great in their own way.
Mm-hmm. Now back to Chris here. So this is fun. But what's the story behind this one?
So I don't know, like huge Chris G fan. I'm hard pressed to know exactly where it started, but loved his mini Marvel work when it was published. Met him probably at one of the early New York Comic Cons, and have had him do a lot of commission work over time. And over the past, I guess, 3 years, I've had him do a bunch of like awesome recreations, kind of time stamped in the 1990, 91, 92 period. So I think first up was the 4 interlocking covers for Jim Lee's X-Men #1, which at some point I should probably post to my CAF gallery. But that's amazing. And he did pencils, inks, colors, all the logos and indicia. Like, he's, aside from being a fantastic artist, is also a really talented colorist, graphic artist. He's got remarkable skills. So that was a fun project. Like, I think that was 2020, like in the early days of COVID. I'm sure everyone found, was a great time to catch up on your hobby, right? Scan your art,
yeah, we all did, really.
Like,
I think that was kind of the fun part early on, was watching creators come up with ways to kind of market their other opportunities, whether it was commissions or even just getting their work out there. I remember like Frank Cho was one of the first people who I saw, say in probably March of 2020, where he was doing these live sale shows with comic shops. And I just thought, wow, that's like taking something that's was bad and then turning it around and actually doing something good for the fans, good for the artist. And it was an interesting time. I mean, and the thing is, we all wanted to support those creators too, because you knew they weren't getting paid when everybody had to put their pencils down. So yeah, it was a fun time, at least for us, trying to pick up work that we might not have had that opportunity because of their schedules and things.
Oh yeah, it was a fantastic period from that perspective. Not
yeah, I know.
Perspective. And so first did the X-Men #1 covers. I think next up, had him recreate all the promo posters for the X-Men Mutant Genesis series. So that gave birth to X-Force #1, X-Men #1, X Factor's reboot, and I guess Excalibur's reboot. So those were fun. And then 2022 is the 30th anniversary of the Jim Lee X-Men Series 1 trading cards. So thought this would be a good occasion to have him create this piece with the interlocking puzzle that came together to form the Danger Room. So it's pretty awesome. And I think I posted it over the weekend, including the blue line pencils, the inks, as well as the colors. And he went the extra mile, did the border to make it look just as it did as the original piece. So it's super fun. And I just love the energy that Chris brings to pieces, the life, the personality. It's funny, engaging. So we should be seeing more of his work published than we are. That much is clear.
Well, hopefully you can post the Jim Lee the cover. That would be cool. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. I've got I had to dig out the scans, but it's like, because he did it, the individual covers, but he also did the full all together. So I had to dig out the pencils and inks. So I'll get that posted.
Okay.
It's been a good catalyst for me to dig through the archives and realize.
I'm glad I helped in that way.
Thank you. Kevin Wada.
Yes.
Love this guy's art. And I'm trying to recall where I first came across Kevin. I think he did. He would post on his, I think back at the time, his Tumblr. It's like the fashionista version of the X-Men or the X-Women. The characters of the X-Men in like these incredible haute couture costumes. And the work caught my eye, and emailed him and asked if he would be willing to take on any commissions. And I think the first one I had him do an Emma Frost White Queen, and then a Jean Grey Marvel Girl in her classic like blue and gold outfit, which were amazing. And then I thought about the idea, like what about getting him to do Kitty Pryde in like all of her costumes, like from start to finish. He was a huge Kitty Pryde fan, big crush, 12-year-old me, which is the story there. And his style, which it's something I love about a bunch of artists that are kind of at the intersection of comic book art and fine art. And I think there's a handful of artists that you would put there. I think Kevin Wada would be there. David Mack, Bill Sienkiewicz, a handful of others. And just it's something about the work resonates with me. But over a period of 2 years, he took on, I guess, 6 of the Kitty Pryde pieces. So got the original costume, like the awful, just roller skate costume from, I'm trying to remember, is it 149? I should probably remember this, but I don't. But the original costume. Then we have the Excalibur costume. There's, I think, the one on the left here is the X-Men Evolution costume, and in my gallery there's a bunch of the others. But it was fun to get the full journey, through most of her costumes. And there were more. I wanted to continue, but Kevin got more and more popular and more busy with commercial work and less attainable. So I'm glad I struck while the iron was hot when I did, and
Right.
got as many pieces as I could. Sometimes that happens with artists. They hit escape velocity and there's no looking back.
No, I've encountered that as well a few times, but yeah, this is your CAF gallery, just to see the
Yeah.
10 pieces that you have posted there. But yeah, fun. I mean, the guy's work is
Click
very,
on
very
the Marvel Girl. Like that's one of my like all-time favorite renditions of Marvel Girl. So good.
Oh yeah, I mean that's gorgeous. His colors are amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Um, Now something a little more Art Adamsy. I've never owned a pen and ink piece by Art. I've owned some prelims in the past, but man, this thing is amazing.
Yeah, this is I don't know, I view this as like a true gift. I mean, there's a bunch of artists that I would love to have commission pieces by that I view as like completely unattainable. Like Art Adams would be one, like Scott Campbell would be another.
Mhm.
There's a few others that are kind of on that list where like how on earth would you ever get on their lists? And Art had a like, I don't know if it was a surprise appearance or just a not well publicized appearance at East Coast Comic Con in New Jersey back in I think it was April of 2015. And I saw like it was a social media post or something along those lines saying that he was going to be there and he was taking convention sketch requests. So I emailed him through his website, or is it Fog City Art? I don't remember exactly. And like miracle of miracles, he replies and he's like, "Oh, what do you want? Like a head sketch is X and a torso is this." And I'm like, "Well, how about like an 11 by 17 full figure piece?" And he's like, "Sure." I'm like, "Okay, wow, this is amazing." And so this was probably a couple weeks before the show. So went to New Jersey. My son and I, waited in line at his table, show up, and I'm like, "Hey, Art, I'm the guy who commissioned the Emma Frost White Queen piece. I'm here to pick it up." And he looks at me. He might have laughed. It's like, "Yeah, I started it." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm going to be here, Saturday and Sunday." It's like, "No, it's not going to happen." I mean, again, he was very unassuming and mellow about it, but it was clear that it was not going to be done during the course of the convention in April of 2015. And so I don't know, I think I took he actually had it with him and he had started. And so I took a great photo of him with some pencil outlines and said, "Okay, well, great. I'll follow up." And so I think at regular intervals over the next 2 years, I would I would email him like, okay, so what would have been next would have been San Diego 2015. Say, I'll be there. It's like, I'll try. And then it was New York Comic Con 2015. I said, I will be there. He said he would try. And so it went until, I just looked it up, July 14th of 2017. And I get an email from Art saying, here she is, see you at SDCC. And there's a scan of this attached. I was just like, so absolutely well worth the wait. Incredible detail. Well, obviously beautiful character, great pose, incredible detail, just mind blowing. And yeah, I've waited longer for less.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's not bad at all. I mean,
yeah, 2 years, whatever that is.
Now, were you planning on going to San Diego that year, or was it kind of like the Madrid thing?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we'll go to San Diego whenever the gods will allow me to get tickets, or the lottery system. But yeah, I was definitely planning to go. So yeah, this was really fantastic. And yeah, I will say, I mean, some artists have really long waits just because they're commercially incredibly busy, and like you see that, and it's fine, and they communicate well. Like they say, like, I acknowledge that you're in line. I'm working on it. I will get to you eventually. And to me, that's fine. What's challenging is like when you sign up for something, you pay, and then there's like no communication. It's like you got to like go back again. But Art and Joyce were incredibly good and gracious with my persistent follow up, and again, the end result, fantastic. So super happy.
No, that's a keeper for sure.
Definitely keeper.
Yeah, and you get to be the one to commission him too. I mean, that's even more special. I think having that, even though it was a prolonged interaction from beginning to end. I mean, still, that makes the piece all the more special.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the thing about commission pieces is like it's your idea, your inspiration, your request. So it's that much more special.
Mm-hmm. Did you ask for the Sentinel in the background, or is that his?
I did not.
Yeah.
I had no expectations. I was expecting just like Emma sitting there with a white background. That's color, cover quality, right? I mean that should show up as some cover someday. Really amazing.
All right. Well, you mentioned David earlier, so this is a very interesting piece, mixed media for sure.
Yeah, and I should probably pull this out. So I read Alias when it came out in 2001, and so I think reflecting back at the beginning of the interview, that's kind of like when I, despite the fact that I've been regularly buying, probably not reading comics all that often, 2001 was when I really kind of got back into the hobby, really started reading, and that was fun times, and discovering the works of Brian Bendis, in particular, I think his Daredevil around that time, really, really powerful. And so when Alias was launched, picked it up and was hooked. And that was like the beginning of the Marvel, the short-lived Marvel Max line, which aimed to push the boundaries. But I was fascinated by Mack's art and his covers. And actually, sorry for the background noise. I'm trying to extract this from the Mylar. And so I went to, I guess, the first New York Comic Con, which would have been 2006, if I have my dates right. And I think I went, it was either, I don't remember like whether they did Thursday or just Friday, but I think they did a Thursday that year. And I had meetings for work in New York City. Went to New York Comic Con at the Javits Center. I was like walking around. There's like nobody there. It was like Thursday evening, and I see David Mack. I'm like, oh, that's David Mack. That's the guy who did this. And so
hold it up again. I was just curious. Yeah.
Right. So hold on. So cool. This is actually a Manila envelope, which was like pasted onto comic artboard. It has like actual stamps with actual, actual cancel marks, and then all this stuff is, I think he must have, carved a stamp with a face of Jessica Jones on it, and like, and so that's what all this like, these are all like images, if you can see it, but this is definitely like mixed media in every sense. And so, there's things that are pasted, painted, drawn, attached. Like this is the actual binder clip here. It's crazy. So, and also beautiful piece. So, but I at New York Comic Con, I met, I walked up to David Mack's table, and there was no one there. I mean, I think he was there with his girlfriend at the time, I think Mandy Amano, if I remember correctly. And I introduced myself, and I'm sure I looked completely out of place at a con because I'm like wearing a suit and tie. And he shakes my hand and says, "Nice to meet you, James Henry." And he looks at my badge. He's like, "If that's your real name."
That's funny.
I was definitely a fish out of water, but
right.
It was cool to meet him, and I bought this piece. I think I bought this directly from him, and bought a number of the other Alias, Jessica Jones covers from that first series, and just huge fan of his work. I mean, just amazingly creative.
He's a great guy to talk to. I've had him on
absolutely fascinating. And
he
lives a really interesting life. If you haven't looked at his collaboration with Bendis, I think his cover, which is a story about a comic artist who is basically like is recruited by the CIA to be an agent. I'm like always thinking like that's basically David's story, traveling the world for the State Department for it is mercy. So it's like I could definitely see him doing that.
Rick said James Henry. Yes. Yeah. If that's your real name. That's so funny. Let's see. So, this was the second Paul Smith that you had.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So this is 168. Like right after 167. So probably equally influential. And this was a fun issue because it's really like after the just insanity of 167, where you've got X-Men versus New Mutants versus Brood, the Shi'ar, the Fantastic Four, like it's the entire culmination of the Brood saga. This is like this is the down issue. So it starts off with I think that's the Professor Xavier is a jerk splash page that someday somebody would like to own. I'm one of those people. And this has got the great personal stories with Nightcrawler, Kurt Wagner, and Amanda Sefton, and Cyclops and Lee Forster, and Angel and Candy. It sets up the Morlocks story, but it's just going back to my comment earlier about the X-Men being effectively a soap opera, as written by Chris Claremont. It's like it's these moments, the downtime, the interpersonal moments, the friendships, the romance, that really gets you invested in the characters in a great way. So love this piece, and I for however many years it's been, 40 years, I still want a Banff doll. Like I can't believe someone has not like created a Banff doll. Like I would buy one in a heartbeat. I mean, I'm gonna start a Kickstarter. I'm inspired just by this nostalgia here.
Well, I'm actually in your CAF Gallery just looking at the Paul Smith art that you have posted there, and I mean, I'm so jealous. You've got a lot of great pieces. It just reminds me, Bob was such a great inker for Paul.
Oh yeah,
he complimented him really, really well.
Yeah, perfect.
And you get those couple cover recreations too. That's great.
Yep. Yeah, I've gone deep on the Paul Smiths, or I went deep early on. They're fewer and farther between these days. You don't see a lot of them.
Yeah, and that is what sets the Burt Reynolds pose, right?
Yeah, yeah, the Burt Reynolds Playgirl pose.
Oh man.
Which
Uh,
I think Stan Lee also did at one point. So it's
I,
been emulated many times.
mhm.
Uh,
But yeah, no, just looking at your CAF gallery, I mean that the title page on 174. I mean, it's so many, it's so memorable. I mean, the pieces that are in there. So
yeah,
wow, even the Marvel Age cover.
yeah. The Marvel Age cover is fun because it's like all the X-Men, Alpha Flight.
Alpha Flight, all
I
right.
mean that right around the time of the Asgardian saga. I mean that's such an influential work and kind of indelibly etched in my mind. I've picked up a few of the Marvel Age covers over time. I feel like they're good, really good value for money. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
they're not part of anyone's like Grail run, and yet they're done by the artists at their at their peak moments,
Sure.
creatively for those periods of time. And Marvel Age itself, like I mean, it was like the Bible. I mean, Marvel Age and Marvel Universe. In the early '80s, I would pick up without fail, and it's like read it cover to cover again and again, just
Well, same here.
waiting to figure out what's happening next. So that's a title that has a lot of personal significance.
No, I agree. I read them all as well. But that yeah, again, anybody who checks out your CAF gallery should definitely look at the Paul Smith wing of the of the gallery.
Paul Smith, wing of the gallery. Yeah, a lot of love there.
And here's a gorgeous John Byrne piece commission.
Um, yeah, so this, and if you look at my gallery, there's a lot of John Byrne commissions, which is like just, I take a step back and I'm like, I feel so incredibly fortunate to be able to say that. I mean, and I think looking back, I think I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Jim Warden, who I guess was it Distinctive Original Art, DOA
Hmm.
sales.com, if I remember, facilitated a ton of great commissions over time. Um, I'd done a bunch of commissions, initially early X-Men scenes from his run. And then I had a bunch of pieces that would be like, a team and the vehicle and the headquarters. And After taking a break from Byrne pieces for a couple of years, I came back with this one, which I was trying to think about scenes that I would love to have him depict. And there's this like amazing scene from Giant Size X-Men #1, drawn by Dave Cockrum. Originally, it's got like all 13 X-Men, duking it out in final battle with Krakoa, or however you pronounce it. And like it's literally like it's this big, it's tiny, and yet of course Cockrum brings all the fantastic action and kinetic energy to the page. But I was just like, this should be rendered bigger. And John Byrne had done it in I think in a flashback scene, the epilogue after the Dark Phoenix saga. I was like, well, wouldn't it be great to have him do it like larger than life in one of these like super large pieces that he does. So this is it, and like probably my favorite Byrne piece, certainly my favorite Byrne commission ever. And it's it is larger than life. It leaps off the page. The details amazing, the energy incredibly powerful, and I had the pleasure of going to pick up the piece in person from him, and see his studio in Connecticut, and just such a treat. Was really very happy with this one.
Well, that's fantastic. That and, Jim's probably created a lot of lasting memories for many collectors who enjoyed John's work.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I couldn't be happier.
But I figured I'd show this one too, just because it's one of my favorites of
Yes,
all time. I mean, it was one of those moments where it was just getting a little backstory for Wolverine finally, and just super memorable for me. I love the early Byrne pages over the later stuff, from the run for whatever reason. Maybe it was just the inking was a little bit different, not as tight, But yeah, I love this period, and this is a super classic page, of course.
Yeah, that's a great page, and I bought this. I think it was. I want to say it was listed on eBay once upon a time, or maybe it was a private sale. But it's, and I don't think before I actually had the piece, I never noticed in the top panel that Wolverine's there in like complete shadow, like slinking out of the woods. I probably like on the printed page thought he was a tree or something like that. And it's like one of the things, when you actually have the original art in hand, you just get such a better appreciation of the detail and everything that goes into it before it's shrunk down. And of course, at that time, printed on crap paper with crap ink. So
Right.
amazing. And and there's there was a second page which I kicked myself for not buying, the page right after this, where they go into like full combat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great page too.
Certainly very happy with this one, and a handful of the other Byrne published pieces that I have. It's a really special period for the X-Men, and
oh yeah, without question,
gave birth to a lot that followed.
Oh man, let's see here. Sorry, I keep moving around, but it's worth looking at some of the pieces that you didn't choose for tonight's show.
Yeah, well, you limited me to like 18. So.
I know. So now you talked about the Wolverine mini-series earlier, and
oh yeah,
you own this fantastic DPS.
Yeah, this is amazing. So full double page spread. So it's two 11 by 17 pieces taped together. Completely seamless. Sometimes it doesn't come off completely clean, but it does in this case. And I feel like this must have been an eBay auction at one point that I bought this in. But the first issue of the Wolverine Limited series that I read, I think I started at the end, issue number 4. A friend of mine from grade school had, I think I like slept over at his house one night, and he had a bunch of comics, of which one was, I think, Uncanny X-Men number 162, and another was Wolverine number 4, and which of course is like the final battle and all that excitement. But I like had to go back, and once I figured out what comic book stores were and that you could actually buy back issues, chased down the first 3 issues and just devoured them. So this series always held a special place in my heart. Pretty sure I wanted to be a ninja when I was like 12 years old. That was a vocation that was available to me. Although not fighting Wolverine, of course.
Yeah, the ninjas didn't fare too well fighting Wolverine or Daredevil, really.
Yeah, American Ninja. But when I saw this piece, I'm like, wow, I gotta have it. So that's amazing. And I think do you know if I looked at your comment? Yeah, I think it was sold framed, and I think I had to unframe it. That's like going back to at least my early days on eBay. I feel like it was a little bit like Wild West. People would sell things framed, and like, is it actually the art? Is it a Xerox? You couldn't get people to declare, or one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so you never knew exactly what you were in for, but it certainly felt like it was worth taking the risk in this case, and it paid off very well. Whereas like double page spreads are amazing, generally speaking, and certainly the originals, full size, a wonder to behold.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, pull it back from the screen a little bit. Oh yeah, that's great. That's gorgeous, man.
I treat him accordingly.
Yeah, I'd love to get a page from that miniseries. Anything at all, and I'd be happy with that. But DPS, that's pretty amazing. This next piece is not in your CAF gallery though. This is one that you'd sent me the picture from, the one with the interlocking covers by LaRocca.
Oh yeah, so I'm a big fan of Salvador LaRocca. The Extreme X-Men run, which was when I came out, like it was 2001, so ish. That's about the same time, again, as I was describing my like comic reading and comic collecting renaissance. And yeah, I love the stories. And I mean, like Claremont has had real synergy, real chemistry with a bunch of artists over time. Certainly Cockrum, Byrne, Paul Smith, Jim Lee. Well, again, everybody has their favorite, but I feel like he really struck gold with Salvador on this Extreme X-Men collaboration. And so Jim Warden, again, of DOA fame, who I met through John Byrne's forum once upon a time, also represented Salvador. And so I ended up buying a few pieces of art, pencil covers. And one time he's like, hey, I have this piece. It's like 6 connected covers. I want to say 4 of them were published, 2 were not, or I probably don't have that quite right. And they weren't published in order, but they're like taped together. Do you want them? I was like, well, yeah, this looks incredible. And so the challenge, of course, is that you can't, I don't know how to scan this thing, but this, it's like a puzzle. All right, so let's see, how do I do this in a way that's going to work? I have to pan way back. So it's, there we go. Oh, I'll stand up. So it's huge. So it's 6 11 by 17 covers, all taped together. I feel like it should be done as a poster by someone. But you've got Gambit, Cannonball, Bishop, Rogue, Storm. I guess that's Sage. It's interesting. Yeah, I think the Storm cover that was published ended up being a little more discreet, as they found something to cover her up. But it's fantastic. And Salvador's like line work is just incredible. It's just the level of detail, the fineness of his penciling is truly remarkable. Just very, very thin lines, but incredibly expressive and powerful.
And I agree with Jordan. He drew Bishop just amazingly. I mean, I loved his pencils and everything, but it was just, it's funny. Like some artists are just like do something special with a character, and Bishop came off really well under LaRocca's pencil. So and that was interesting too, because a lot of that was done, wasn't it, like digitally? It was colored. It wasn't inked. It was just an interesting way to be printed as well. So
I think they went from pencils right to digital colors.
Right.
I think some of that
came off good, some of it did, but again, it was interesting to see that process happen that way, and it did turn things on its head a little bit. You were like, why isn't it? You want to see something inked. What would it have looked like if it had been inked? But I liked it that way though.
Yeah. I mean, in 2001 onward, I mean, there was a kind of a transformational time in computer coloring, and the quality of the available programs, the power of the machines, the computers from a graphical compute and processing perspective was changing. It opened a lot of doors that just simply weren't there before.
Yeah, now we have AI making artwork. Hopefully that never makes its way into comics though.
Yeah, not sure that's actually artwork, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. I'm friends with a lot of artists that are very unhappy with the whole process.
Yeah, it's probably a different topic for a different forum.
Yeah, definitely. But so the hits just keep on coming here. This Liefeld piece, right? It's
So this is New Mutants 94 double page spread, Wolverine versus Cable. This was, I guess, early on in Liefeld's run. This is when Wolverine was being liberally used across probably every comic Marvel published to draw additional sales. But this is a fun piece, and look, I'm a big fan of Rob Liefeld's work. He, as I mentioned earlier, like the New Mutants, I felt like that was like my team. So like at the time when I started reading at age 12, like I really, those characters resonated with me. I feel like I grew up with those characters, and honestly, I feel like I kind of, faded from them, or they faded from me over time, and I got kind of bored of the title. But when Rob Liefeld, came back and kind of brought new life and energy, and really bold, aggressive style, informed by manga and other influences. It definitely caught my eye, and I started buying the title again, reading it again. So really enjoyed it, and his work, from that, which became X-Force and Youngblood and whatnot. So continue to be a big fan to this day. Rick Welsh, Monkeys Paint 2. That's nice.
I think that was about the AI.
Yeah, but it's look, I think he is controversial, obviously, as a name, but like him or not, I think the thing that I always come back to is like he's a really enthusiastic fan first. I mean, if you've listened to his podcast or observations, like it all started as a kid at the spinner rack buying comics and dreaming of making them on his own, and he's created a lot of great characters, had great commercial success over time. You can love him his work or not, but his influence has been incredibly powerful.
Yeah, no, it's a gorgeous image too, and this is inked by Hilary Barta as well. So I always liked Hilary's inking. So a good combination there as well.
All right, sorry, Rick, I didn't mean to call you out incorrectly there.
Yep. Nope. Yeah. It's the timing. It's all about the timing. I should have highlighted it when he said it. But yeah, no, I love that one as well. So let's see, what was the next one? Oh, I remember. Gee, this is kind of memorable. I didn't even I wasn't even reading Iron Fist, and when this book came out, I bought it off the stands because it was just, the cover just was crazy, and the villain, they're like, it was just so such a crazy costume, right? I mean, for a villain. And I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't even really reading Iron Fist at all. Didn't care about them as a character, but I had to buy it. The cover was just amazing.
Yeah, and let me tell you, you've never seen more whiteout on a cover than you'll see on this. Like,
oh, wait, here, let's.
Sorry, let me. Being backwards here. All right. Yeah, there's like, well, you can probably see in the contrast, there's like so much whiteout on this cover, and look, which is funny. I said it earlier, but one of the things I love about original art, and especially original art from this vintage, is like it's all there on the page. There's no there was no post production. There's no digital editing. It was like literally cutting out the logo and indicia and the copyright and the text and pasting it on, and it's like it's dirty, colored. It's amazing. But this is a good example of again, like the physicality of original art. Of course, the cover itself, which is this incredible kinetic image, but also the piece itself. I bought this from Bill Wu once upon a time, and I feel like he was selling it so he could buy a Jim Lee piece. I think that was the deal at the time. So I'm sure he's happy about that trade in retrospect. But what was interesting, I was just reflecting back on it. It was up until this point, it was presumed to be drawn by Dave Cockrum. In fact, like all the records, I think to that point said Iron Fist cover, Dave Cockrum art, and the question, and I think it had been raised, was like, is it really Cockrum? And on the John Byrne forum, I asked, I was like, hey, does anybody know, is this piece actually by Cockrum? And John Byrne weighed in and said, no, it's Al Milgrom. And he knew, because obviously he was working on the book at this time. And through back and forth through the JBF, was able to unearth that Cockrum apparently did layouts, which I think maybe was like on a cocktail napkin or something. Al Milgrom did the pencils and inks, and this was the final product. So pretty cool to and I guess one of the great miracles of online and forums like this one, where you can actually talk to other collectors, talk to creators. You can like learn about the hobby. You can do fact finding, but it didn't, honestly, it didn't change my view of whether I wanted it and what it was worth to me. But just knowing what I was getting and having real confidence that I validated its authenticity and provenance and all that good stuff was
Sure.
important.
No, I've got a few pages that were inked by Milgram, but I've always been looking for at least his pencils on something. I haven't really found the right piece yet, but I've been, to me, he's an important figure for Marvel during this time period. And I've always admired his work, and just one of these days I'm going to have something that he penciled. So, I mean,
Yeah.
this piece it's historic. Like somebody said, it belongs in a museum. I mean, it's a piece of Marvel history right there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
congratulations.
Anyone who's read the X-Men Companion, the Sanderson, there's the double editions that go deep into the X-Men during that phenomenal period with Claremont, with Cockrum, and then Byrne, and those interviews with Byrne and Austin, Claremont, et cetera, just
Mhm.
are like a font. If you love that period of time, like that's a Bible. I mean, that is like that's the gospel right there. But of course, if you read that, Claremont originally intended Sabretooth to be Wolverine's father, and I feel like someday it'll be retconned if it hasn't already for that to be the case. But I've always thought that Sabretooth probably punches above his weight class in significance just for that reason. There's like the halo effect that someday that will be willed back into existence.
Mhm. No, but congratulations on that. And that's usually how pieces like that get out in the wild, right? So a collector's looking to upgrade, get a different piece, and so usually that means shaking a few other pieces loose to
Yeah.
make that work. And so, it's always good to be in the right place at the right time and have the funds to be able to pull something like that off. So, yeah, that one's I love that piece. Um, Somebody actually already mentioned this piece earlier, the recreation by Sienkiewicz. This one's, I mean, a very memorable image all around. But yeah, I love this. Recreation or not, I mean, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, Look, in looking back, I had a really probably visceral and negative reaction to New Mutants #18 when it first came out. I mean, I started with Bob McLeod, and I guess it's like Sal Buscema in there somewhere. It was all very conventional. And I remember picking up New Mutants #18, just being like what is going on here? Like I can't even tell what's happening. The art was so different and so stylistic, but I tried, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. It's so powerful, and I was completely hooked, and I think that must have been my first exposure to Bill Sienkiewicz's work. I don't think I would have seen his Moon Knight before this, but even if I had, this was sufficiently different to evoke a strong reaction. But it went from being an initial shock to the system to being a run that was probably one of my all-time favorites in the category. And so the house ad for New Mutants #18, fantastic piece. I asked Bill to recreate it, and his idea was to add Warlock, who of course was not in the original. So that's the only material difference from the original published version. And I think this was 2019. I think I commissioned this at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, and then it's like he said, I want to do this on a big piece of paper and do it back in my studio. So can I give it to you later? I'm like, okay. I was expecting to wait years, but he actually had it done in time for New York Comic-Con, if I remember the timestamp correctly. So yeah, thrilled with the way it turned out. For what it's worth, the Don't Call Them X Babies Anymore, that was post-production work on my part. The actual image itself is just the black and white above that with the characters in the border. So I felt like I would create this version for the gallery to make it look true to the original.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a beautiful image. I mean, I love. I'm like you. I mean, initially I was shocked by Sienkiewicz. on New Mutants, because I'm a huge Bob McLeod fan. I mean, I'm going to be doing an interview with Bob in November.
Oh, great.
And not an art sale or anything. I just said I'd love to just pick his brain and his history in comics. I mean, he's worked with so many great artists and writers. But so yeah, I love the New Mutants. Just with when he was on it. So Sienkiewicz was it took me a couple issues, but then but I was hooked immediately. Probably by like issue 2, I got it. I was like, wow, this guy's doing some great work here.
Yeah, well, you go from like wondering what the hell's going on to like the Demon Bear saga. You're like mind blown to Slumber Party to everything. Yeah, I'll look forward to your interview with Bob. So this fall is the 40th anniversary of New Mutants, so timely. And I think this year was also 40th anniversary of G.I. Joe #1, which he penciled the cover, right? So did I get that right? So probably 1982 is probably a year he remembers fondly.
No, you're right. I mean, I've been talking with him about it for a while, and finally he's agreed. But I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, he's like to me, he's one of the best guys to get a convention sketch from. You will never get a bad convention sketch from Bob McLeod. I mean, his work is, to me, it's timeless. It's classic. I mean, he pumps them out like they're like it's nothing, and they're always good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I was, as I was going through, like trying to pick, my 18 pieces for this discussion. Like I feel guilty for leaving out Bob, but I've got a few good pieces in the gallery, and one is a piece that he originally did for Wayne Osborne, which is the New Mutants against a Sentinel. It's a really big painted piece, which
I think not in your CAF. I mean, yeah.
But he's done a couple different renditions of that over time. Yeah, like it's phenomenal. And he also, I think he mocked this up as a print, as a cover of New Mutants, like 2.5 or something once upon a time. But yeah, this is fantastic.
Wow. Yeah, I love this. This is beautiful. I've looked at this many times over the years. So wow.
Yeah, it's maybe the first and only turquoise and purple Sentinels.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that's see, yeah, it's hard for you to skip this piece. I'd forgotten this was in your CAF.
Yeah. I was trying to also focus on things that have a story. Most of these have some story behind them. No,
that one's I can't help but keep looking at it. It's on a different tab for me, but yeah, that's fantastic. So, and again, I'm looking forward to the Bob McLeod. I think it's gonna be on the 15th of November. We were just emailing today to firm it up. Yeah, the 15th of November, I'll have him on. All right, well, we got 3 more pieces to look at, and this next one is another fantastic piece. This is from Cockrum from X-Men 162.
Yeah. So this as I was mentioning earlier. So a friend of mine from grade school, had a sleepover at his house, and he had a bunch of comics, of which 162 was one of them. And as I mentioned, Wolverine #4 was one of them. So it was very, very interesting. But coming into the Brood saga, like midway, having some passing familiarity with the X-Men from the past, it's like, what on earth is happening here? But this issue, Wolverine's transformation and I guess recovery from being turned into a Brood, and then this battle just left a powerful impression. And I think the piece was auctioned at Heritage once upon a time. I don't even remember what year, but I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to have it. And it just, you're looking at it, it actually it makes you uncomfortable. I mean, just how vulnerable. I mean, he's obviously ferocious and he's laying waste to these creatures, but he's also incredibly vulnerable. Just, teeth, talons, spikes. It evokes real, real feeling in the viewer. And this is another one where, let's see.
Yeah, it was 2005.
Okay. That rings a bell. And so there's another one where Cockrum, drew something on the back. It's like random. So
I wonder what inspired him to do those. I mean, I know I've seen that a lot.
yeah, I mean, he certainly went the extra mile to make his fans happy when he sold a piece of original art once upon a time. So good on him. It's funny. When I saw it, I was hoping it would be the Fiend Without a Name from Kitty's Fairy Tale, X-Men 153, I think. But this is close enough. Duck-a-mock, whatever that is. Wolverine as a duck, probably the first and last time you'll see that.
Yeah, no, you'll never see it again. But that is an amazing page. I think I owned a page from 162 for a while too. It's probably right around this page with him like slicing through some broods and everything. And I regret selling that one a great deal, because it's it's pages like this, you can't replace them at all. I mean, and you got and probably around the same time period you got yours. You got it in 2005. I mean, that's about when I got mine. But yeah, I'll regret the Cockrum and Byrne pages I sold a long time ago. But yeah, wow, that's a great one right there.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, Marcus highlights the mini golf. That was what I sold it. Yeah, when I built the golf course in Ohio, I sold one of those. I sold a Cockrum 162 page. Yay. So we can go early.
Good idea at the time
with Kirby now.
Yeah, so this is my first Kirby, and I guess first of and one of only two. And this is a good story. I mean, to me, this was a little bit like the page from Giant Size X-Men 101. I mean, I view that the first few issues of X-Men, the Lee Kirby origin story as incredibly important, significant. And while this page is not, it's not that exciting. Well, it's maybe not exciting at all. It just it feels like a significant work. And this page was on it was on eBay years ago, and similar to that Wolverine piece, it was framed, and the seller was not, like, as far as I could tell, not a comic book fan, and maybe it was like a secondhand store or something like that. I was like, oh well, can you take it out of the frame? Just like, I would want to know, like, is it real? Is it signed? Is it in good condition? It was like, no interest. So ended up winning the auction on eBay, and the bidding was like tepid, not a lot of interest. I think for this reason, because like people didn't know if it was authentic or not. So I don't remember where the seller was. It's probably somewhere in Maryland. And so I reached out to Jim Ward now, like, hey, really random request, but would you be willing to like drive to this dude's house or wherever it was, and like pick up this piece for me, and like I'll pay you. I assume I paid him for his trouble, but like I just want to make sure it's real before actually like pay the guy. And so Jim, the saint that he is, was willing to do it, and drove to the guy's house and picked it up. Paid him. Called me on his cell phone. He's like, "It's the real deal." I was totally psyched. I was like 50%, thinking I was completely bamboozled, and 50% really optimistic that it was the authentic piece. But it was, and here it is.
Wow.
So this is good stuff.
So you've lucked out on eBay a few times.
Yeah, a few times. I've had a few other not so lucky.
Right. But we're not talking about those tonight.
No. Those are long gone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was there were troubles with eBay early on. I mean, there's troubles still today. You just sometimes never know. But
the old package that shows up empty.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the seller collects the insurance and keeps it.
Right. Yeah. Yes, we've heard horror stories like
it's a pretty good gig. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on
me.
So you learn a few hard lessons.
Right, well, it turned a lot of people off of eBay, it really did when you
Yeah,
ran into problems like that, or you're shipped to print instead of the real thing, and,
yeah,
yeah, no, that
yeah. I
would
mean, I mean, look, I think Heritage, Comic Link, some of the other sites. I mean, they're obviously the buyer and seller premium adds a lot to the price or reduces from the proceeds to the seller, but you also have the real comfort of knowing what you're getting and knowing that
right.
it's authentic.
It's more stress-free, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's you don't have to worry about it getting sniped, pulled off of the auction in the middle by
Mhm.
someone who contacts the seller directly. So it's definitely
Yeah, those were
definitely
the days, right? I mean, early on, like Tim Townsend was on the Comic Art L group, always, and I always thought that was great, right? Having an artist who was a big collector, but he and many other people would always talk about how many eBay auctions they got stopped early by making an offer to the seller,
oh yeah,
and and that's how you can, and I never did that. I mean, I could never do that. But one time I did make a buy off eBay where the seller literally said, "Don't buy it. I'll sell it to you off eBay. So we don't have to pay the eBay fees, and I'll even give you a little discount." So even the sellers were doing it. Just even when you were trying to make a legitimate buy off of
yeah,
eBay, people were out to screw eBay. So, yep.
crazy.
But that's what made it interesting too. It's like, and very frustrating at the same time because, like you say, a lot of people would be in the bidding action and then just be so frustrated when the piece would get pulled.
Oh yeah. Well, days gone
Yeah.
by.
Yep. Well, so last up here is a pair of Jim Lee pieces, and
Oh yeah.
I decided to show them together rather than put them on separate slides.
Yeah. So yeah, as I said, this is the 40th anniversary of the 30th anniversary of the Jim Lee X-Men Series 1 trading cards. So it's amazing that Jim's work on X-Men overall, and importantly on the latter adjectiveless X-Men, as well as the trading card series, like continue to this day. I mean, Marvel put out a series of covers using all these pieces a few years ago. So his take on these characters is incredibly iconic, and I think will definitely withstand the test of time. Um, I'd like to think that Jim will find his way back to Marvel at some point. Certainly, there's been some speculation that could happen someday, but I guess we'll see. But for now, you can live nostalgically with the incredible creations he had during his many years at the House of Ideas. But yeah, this piece, this was a heritage auction. I'm a big Emma Frost fan, as you would find if you looked anywhere around my gallery. And so this piece seemed like a perfect get. They're interesting because each of these, if you see them up close, it's like drawn on 11 by 17,
Yeah,
and
I was just highlighting that because I didn't realize they were on the same board. But
yeah, they're on the same board. So so it's like 11 by 17 art board, and yeah, he just does them to he does the art and then the head sketch, which goes on the I guess the powers, the power card in the back, and
mhm.
we just cranked out. I don't know, there's like 100 of these. I don't remember how many cards there are, but they were. Jim was well on his way to Image and Wildcats #1 in the summer of 1992, and these cards, I'm sure, were burning up sales in comic shops and hobby shops all over the U.S. So his impact lasted long after his time at Marvel.
Oh yeah, without question. I'd love to have Jim Lee back at Marvel.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would.
Yeah. But yeah, no, those are cool. He probably drew them all like that, right? Two on
Yeah,
a page.
I mean, I've seen a bunch. In fact, I think there's one in the Heritage auction with like Saturn from Excalibur and some other Gatecrasher maybe,
Mhm.
a couple of characters, but yeah, those are all very cool artifacts of a special period.
Lyle wants to know about about the time periods for the art purchases. I mean, most of them are from I don't know. I think the majority of the artwork we've looked at were probably in the first 10 years of your buying career, so 2003 to 2013, but some of them,
Yeah.
some were more recent as well.
Yeah, well, I think the vast majority of these were older vintage. You know, the first probably 5 or 7 years that I was buying, and
Mhm.
like I guess in some respects that was when I was discovering the hobby and getting really passionate about it, and a lot of things were available, and the prices were high, but nothing close to what they were today.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've continued to buy, and I mean, I have another Grail piece that I posted to my CAF Gallery a few weeks ago, which was the John Byrne bullpen bulletins piece.
Yeah, that was recently. Was that the last Heritage Signature auction, or was it?
The last signature auction.
Right.
So that
No,
was
that was beautiful. I mean, what a gorgeous, gorgeous
yeah,
piece.
yeah. So I'm continuing to buy, although probably more commissions and less, original art purchases on balance.
I mean, just to highlight that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, that's just it's a stunning piece. And if you're a fan of Byrne, I mean, just having him drawn himself in the
yeah,
center of that, and pretty much every
yeah,
Marvel character that he worked on surrounding him, just yeah, I
yeah. It
can understand why you'd want it.
brings a smile to my face.
I
It's funny, like it's a pretty large piece. It's bigger than 11 by 17, and the detail. I mean, you see here or the next image, which is a cleaned up scan. Like the detail is so much better than it was on the printed page. And was it 1984? Whenever that came out. So it makes 83. So a lot is lost in translation when you go from the big art to the small printed page, especially back in the 70s and 80s when the paper quality was not great. I mean, that's say what you will about some of the collected editions and recoloring, but getting to see the art, I think probably as it was intended, as opposed to how it was reproduced with a limited technology and budget at the time, has been a treat. And there's some artists, I mean, not to digress too much, but there's some artists who you can't even tell what's going on the original printed cover. I think of Michael Golden's work. It's incredibly dense and a lot of dark. And when you look at it, with computer coloring, you're like, oh my god! It's I loved it as it was, but I love it even more, in this cleaned up, well lit format. So I like a lot of the reproductions and reissuance that have been done. Certainly breathed new life into some of this old work.
Well, yeah, that's here. I didn't even realize you had the color piece there too. Yeah. Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So Stanley, sadly, I do not frame much of my art. Although I'm moving, in the process of moving, and my long-term goal is to actually have a dedicated space where I can frame and display it. But at this point, the vast majority of it is in Mylar in portfolios. And honestly, it was a great kick to get prepared for this interview, to go through and sift through and figure out what are the 18 pages that I actually want to spotlight in this discussion.
No, that's what's fun about these. I think, like you had said, having to pick 18 pieces is tough. And especially when I give it, I always tell anybody that I'm interviewing, try to find pieces that have good stories. I mean, I think that's we like the stories as much as we like looking at what maybe your 18 best pieces. I think the pieces with the best stories are usually the ones that just make it fun. I think for us. So, but I'm glad I was able to. Typically, I don't go into your gallery and show off side pieces, but it just seemed really fitting because you have so many other really nice pieces in your collection that you weren't able to pick. So I'm glad I've done that. But people should definitely spend some time in your CAF gallery over the next day or two. Leave some comments, everybody, on the pieces you like, some thumbs up and all that stuff. So, James, I appreciate you doing this. I'm glad I bumped into you in San Diego.
Yeah, well, and it's nice to see you without a mask on, Bill.
Right. Exactly. I know that's that we're still well. That's the only show that I've gone to this year where it was required, but
Okay.
and it was probably for the better. I mean, there were people around me who came back with COVID from that show,
Yeah.
and I didn't. But I feel fortunate that I didn't. But it still seems to be the story, right? I mean, when I went to Heroes, I didn't get it. I didn't wear a mask. Well, I did wear it at sometimes, but there were people that I knew came back from Heroes, that had it as well. So it's something we're going to continue to have to deal with going
Yeah.
out to shows.
Well, better safe than sorry. I've had COVID at least once, and that was enough.
Same here. I had it at the beginning of the year, and that was I never want to have it again. But again, thank you so much for doing this, James. I sincerely appreciate it. Best of luck in the move as well. I mean, we're in the same boat there. I've got a lot of bare shelves, just like we can see in the reflection of the window behind you, that big bookshelf that has nothing
Yeah,
on it.
it needs to be filled. So good stuff. Well, Bill, thanks for having me on, and I think I would assume on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for your work with comic art fans. I mean, it's an incredible resource. It's a pleasure to flip through and see new posts every week and be able to connect with other collectors. It's like, well, there's nothing like it in the hobby, and you've created something really unique and special. So I really thank you for doing it.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be 20 years old in February. So
That's fantastic.
it's been a long
Keep
time.
it going.
I am. I'm talking with a lot of people to help me kind of move it to the next level. I want CAF to be relevant 20 years from now. I mean, that's
Good.
my goal. I feel like we've put a lot of effort into it as a community, and tried to make it what everybody wanted, and it should stay there. It should still be a relevant tool for everybody going forward. So
Definitely.
yeah, I'm excited for the next 20 years. And the last couple of years have been interesting, as well. But I think it's just it's helped reinvigorate my my passion for the hobby. I've collected more in the last couple of years than I ever had, and yeah, I'm excited for the future. So, but again, yeah, Jordan, here. I'm so glad everybody was able to tune in tonight. It was a really fun interview, and again, a lot of artwork, good artwork, X-Men artwork to look at this evening. So thank you, James, for pulling it all together for us.
Yeah, highly focused.
All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the show. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you know the deal. Hit the subscribe button and get notifications so that you don't miss these shows when we put them on. And again, thank you for everybody tuning in, and especially James for doing this with me.
Very good. Bill, thanks. And
Yep.
thanks to everybody.